What's going on, everybody? How are you guys doing? We are still counting down the minutes until Super Bowl 60, and I want to talk about another element of this New England Patriots team now. We talked about Drake May last week, made a whole video just talking about Drake May and how to play him and how to defend him. And now I want to turn my focus to another aspect of this Patriots team, the running game. How do the Patriots run the ball? Who do they run the ball with? What are some recent trends that we've noticed with them that might impact this particular game? What can we expect from the Patriots in this Super Bowl on the ground? So let's start with some basics here. Let's just talk about the Patriots as a running team on the surface. On the surface, they're a good running team. They're 6th in yards rushing and 14th in yards per attempt. All right, everybody, before we go any further into this video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about the Sleeper app. We are just about to the Super Bowl. Now would be a great time to get on Sleeper. It's a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. Celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get scores, you can get news, you get alerts with blazing fast speed, all kinds of sports stuff. You can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. Enjoy sports together with a community. Download the Sleeper app today. And when you do, use promo code SBN for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And also, utilize the free $20 entry with no deposit required. All you have to do is make an account for that one. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper and have some fun with sports this year. So here's where things get a little bit funky when talking about the Patriots' run game this year. They've got a lot of yards. They've got a slightly above, basically an average yard per carry. But if you go to Rush EPA, if you go to rbsdm.com, you look at the offenses and you sort by Rush EPA, the Patriots are near the bottom. They are actually 25th in Rush EPA, negative 0.089. And they also have a fairly low rushing success rate, 26th. So they are actually, if you sort by the actual EPA numbers, one of the worst running teams in the NFL. So right then and there, you kind of have a little bit of a weird, I would at least call it an oddity, right? How is a team that runs the ball for this many yards this ineffective at running the ball meaningfully? There are a couple different reasons. One reason is garbage time. I did do some experimenting, and if you shave off a little bit of garbage time from the with the filter here, you can actually get the Patriots run rush EPA a little bit higher. But I wasn't able to get it above average, right? It was like 17th at best. And if it was like 4% of garbage time, so that would be like anywhere from 4% to 96% win percentage, it was still like 23rd. So that's a little bit of it, but it's not all of it. And that I think is at play here. I think the Patriots are a team that usually is ahead, right? They've won a lot of games this year. They've played a lot of bad teams, so they're usually playing from ahead. And when you play from ahead as a football team, you get the ball with the lead late and you're running the clock out, and you're doing that by running the ball. And the other team knows you're running the ball, and they're more likely to stop you running the ball because they know it's coming, because they know you're running the clock out. So there's definitely a little bit of that going on here. This is a team that runs the ball a lot because game circumstance and situation kind of dictates that they run the ball a lot. But when you actually break it down, their actual effectiveness at running the ball is not that great. Like I said, even if I filter out some garbage time, and for the Patriots, there's been a good amount of garbage time this year because they are frequently ahead in their games. There's a there's a definite issue with them running the ball even when the game is competitive. And I think you got to go a little bit further than to just say it's all because of garbage time. I do think that this team struggles to run the ball in certain areas, particularly running the ball in between the tackles. And that's very relevant for this game. Um, it's gotten a little bit better recently, I believe, but this Patriots team, for the most part, has found their success on outside running. Um, Inside stuff, which is the stuff that the Rams do a lot, that isn't really there for them. They don't have the interior offensive line for it. They don't have the blocking for it. And they do have a running back that I think could be pretty good at it, but their team is not really set up for the ground and pound, jam it in their guts inside, run off A gap and B gap stuff. They're more of an outside running team. And that is very relevant for the Seahawks because I believe their primary weakness defensively is inside running. That's why the Rams are able to run the ball fairly well against them. And teams like the 49ers really struggle to run the ball against the Seahawks because they're so good to the outside. So that's one thing that really jumps out to me here. This Patriots team runs the ball in a way that is, I think, something the Seahawks can easily counter. Like the 49ers are probably the number one team in the NFL in terms of doing outside zone running. And we played the Niners 3 times this year. They did not do a lot on the ground against us in any of those games. So you've got that element going on here. Now, the interesting thing with New England's rushing attack right now is they've got two backs. You've got Travion Henderson, who is their rookie, 23 years old, out of Ohio State. And he's kind of your smaller speed back type guy. He's definitely an outside zone type runner. And early in the season, they weren't using him a ton. But as the year went on, they started using him more and more, and he started having some really good games. He blew up against Buffalo. He blew up against the Buccaneers, I believe it was. Yeah, the Buccaneers. And eventually they started to really trust him and make him a featured part of that offense. And he rewarded them with, I would say, a season that proved he is the better of the two running backs with the ball in his hands. Averaged over 5 yards a carry, had 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, also did some work as a receiver. And their other back, this guy's kind of the hammer. This guy's a lot bigger than Henderson. This guy's a little bit more of a north-south runner, Ramondre Stevenson, about to turn 28, by the way, so in his prime. This guy's been a Patriot for a little while, and he provides a nice contrast to what Henderson does. It's a little bit like K9 and Charbonnet. They've got their own lightning and thunder combo. Now, the thing with Stevenson is that he is slower, not as agile, and not as effective in open space when compared to Henderson. And you can see that with the ball in his hands, generally speaking, he's less effective. He averaged 4.6 yards a carry. You look over his career, he's had a few years where he's had a very low yard per carry average, although those years came when the Patriots were notably a really bad team. He is pretty good out of the backfield. He is a good receiver. He's had a really good year catching the ball out of the backfield. But you can see that with the ball in his hands, Henderson is more dangerous. And I believe that he is the player with the more upside. I think he will have the better NFL career. But there's been an interesting thing going on here with Henderson. So I'm going to move my face cam up a little bit here so you guys can see. But these are the per game snap counts for Travion Henderson this season for the Patriots. And you can see early in the year, he's playing a decent amount. There are a couple games here where he's in the teens. He had this one game here where he was only on the field for 9 snaps in week 7. But then as the year goes on, he's getting more reps. He had a 4-week stretch with at least 46 snaps per game. So he's working his way into the offense. He's earning the trust of the offensive coordinator and the coaches. He's getting more and more work. And then at the end of the year, they kind of wean him back a little bit. He's getting a lower amount of the workload. And by the end of the year, he's definitely in a two-headed tandem with Stevenson. In the playoffs, he's relegated to 26 snaps in the wild card game, 25 in the divisional round, and 4 snaps in the conference championship game. This was one of the really interesting things going on in that conference championship game. Travion Henderson basically did not play. He basically did not get the opportunity to play against the Broncos. Stevenson, on the other hand, you look at his snaps, it's going to be more or less the opposite, and you can see that he missed the games where Henderson got a big workload, right? He did miss a few games here because of an injury. So that's part of the reason why Henderson got such a big workload. But the thing that really strikes me is that Henderson did really well with the bigger workload for the most part. He had some really big games in there, and he was showing that he was really starting to break out. But when the Patriots got Stevenson back, they made him their top running back again. Like we had this one game in week 16 where he played 62 snaps. And then in the postseason, he's been their go-to guy. 40 snaps, 60 snaps against the Broncos. Now, there's one very obvious reason why the Patriots are doing this, and this is something to look out for. TreVeyon Henderson can't block. If you go to Pro Football Focus and you look at their blocking page for TreVeyon Henderson, he has had 40 opportunities to pass block so far this season, or 46, I guess, if you want to go by this number, but 40 opportunities. He's allowed 11 pressures. Let me bring my face cam down a little bit. Yeah, 11 pressures on 40 opportunities. That is impossibly bad. His pass rush or pass block grade is 26.7. I believe that is the worst in the league for running backs that have at least a minimal number of opportunities. 11 pressures and 3 sacks on 40 opportunities. That is setting the bar very, very low. Ramondre Stevenson, on the other hand, has had over 100 opportunities to pass block, and his pressure rate or number of pressures allowed is 6. So Stevenson is a universe better as a blocker. And just to give you an idea how bad Henderson is, let's look at K9 here, who is not a good pass blocker. 43 opportunities, 8 pressures allowed. We know that K9 is not a good pass blocker, and he has not been very good at pass blocking this particular season. So for K9 to clearly be doing better than you've got problems. So this is a part of the reason why Henderson can't stay on the field. He is the worst blocking back in the game. But that can't be the whole picture here, right? Because you look at the Broncos game. This is the game where Henderson only played 4 snaps. The Patriots weren't really throwing the ball. They had 21 passing attempts, 5 sacks. Drake May scrambled a few times. But New England ran the ball 38 times in this game, and they were running the ball constantly in the second half for the most part, just trying to run the clock out because the weather was bad and Denver couldn't score. They gave Ramondre Stevenson 25 carries, and Henderson only got the 3. And we already went over the snap inequality. So it's not just that, because this was a game where New England was going to run the ball, and they knew they were going to run the ball. So you would think you could put Henderson out there and say, hey, look, we're running the ball. Everybody knows it. It's a snowstorm. Nobody can score. We're just trying to run the clock out and get out of here and go to the Super Bowl. But they didn't. They're still making Stevenson the bell cow, and it's not like Stevenson did anything great in this game. He averaged less than 3 yards a carry. And this has kind of been the story throughout the postseason. Henderson has been an afterthought. Now, New England has run the ball okay over their 3 games. I think their yards per carry average is like 4, which is okay. But I go to it again. Henderson is better with the ball in his hands. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry. He's way more explosive. He generates way more big plays. Now, Stevenson, maybe he's a little more reliable, but there's a lot less going on here in terms of like chunk plays. And it sure seems like New England during the postseason has made it clear who they feel is the much better player. And by the way, Stevenson, he's gotten it under control. Little bit of a fumbler. He had 7 fumbles last year. He had 3 earlier this year. He kind of cleaned it up, and he hasn't fumbled in a while. But that's also an element of this conversation as well. And this is also in spite of everything I just said about their run blocking. I was talking about their run blocking earlier. This Patriots team, they don't really have the bodies in the middle. They don't really have the guys in the interior to run block effectively on inside runs, but they're favoring and giving the ball to their bigger, more powerful, and just kind of north-south running back way, 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 way more. So it's kind of odd. And against this Seahawks team, I don't know if their plan is going to change all that much. I think that they may not play Henderson very much in the Super Bowl, and they may try to feature Stevenson because they're going to look at what the Rams did with Kyren Williams and go, you want to just run it up the gut against this team. You want to have a bigger, more powerful back because the Seahawks do not really have a true nose tackle. They're a little bit light in the middle. They play nickel. You want to kind of challenge them right in the middle. And it's a strategy that I think works better than the alternative. We're too good on the outside. We're too strong with our edge rushers setting the edge. And Witherspoon and Eman Wari are too good at tackling and coming up in run support to reliably get the outside as a running back. So I don't know if this is going to change. And I do think it's probably a good idea for the Patriots to try running up the middle because that's where the yards might be. But I'm going to say it again. That Patriots offensive line is not built to handle that kind of thing, especially recently. Like Will Campbell has been kind of a mess ever since he got back from the injury. He has not been the same, and he's already kind of a limited player playing tackle anyway. He may end up moving to guard at some point in his career because he just really struggles to keep up out there, and I don't know how much better it's going to get. But that's a conversation for another time. The conversation right now is this Patriots run game, which on the surface looks threatening, but when you drill down a little bit, I think that it is a little bit of a paper tiger. I think that they run the ball a lot because they have a good defense and a really explosive passing attack. And when you actually put them in situations where they need to lean on the run to create points for them, I don't think it's going to be there. And I think this Seahawks defense matches up well with their rushing attack and can really kind of take Henderson out of this game, even if the Patriots are even planning to use him that much at all. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about here. I will see you guys later on. Go Hawks. More stuff coming soon. We're going to break down this game a little bit more as time goes by. But that is the way I see this Patriots rushing attack right now. It's a little bit curious that Henderson is getting shelved, but I don't know if it's going to change in this Super Bowl because of his limitations and because of the style. All right.